Hello friends! In this video I am going to demonstrate to you how to create an accessible table in Canvas. So we start off, we're going to create a table, and I'm going to create a table that's going to be a grading scale because that's a very common way that tables are used in Canvas. Everything that I'm going to show you though applies to any type of table that you make for any purpose, but this will be fairly simple. So in the Canvas rich text editor, which is what you'll encounter when you create an assignment, a discussion, a quiz, or a page, you always have this option. And when we want to include a table, we'll go to the table tool here, and I'm going to click on it, and the top choice is table, and this is where we choose the dimensions. So I know I want my category or header row, and let's see, this is going to be an overly simplistic grading scale, nothing that anybody would realistically use. We're just trying to demonstrate how to create an accessible table. So I have A, B, C, D, E. Bam. All right. So first we want to put in our major topics, our titles of the two different columns. So here we're going to put percentage. And over here I'm going to put grade. Now, typically what would happen is we would do something like this. We would go 90 to 100. Whoops, that's 199, 100, and that would be an A. And we could do that, and it would be accessible for the student using a screen reader. But there is one thing we can do to tweak the accessibility of this already. And if you didn't, it would still be accessible, but this can enhance the accessibility when you're dealing with numbers and percentages in an example like this with a grading scale. The screen reader is going to read this line here as 90-100. And it could be that depending on the screen reader that a particular student is using, they might be able to set that screen reader to read it differently, but that's not always the case. And so one thing we can do is we can add a percentage sign after the 90, and we can enter a percentage sign after the 100, and now it's going to read 90% dash 100%. And if we still wanted to make it sound the way it sounds in our heads, because think about this, as sighted individuals, when we see a line, a table, and it says percentage, and it has 100 dash or 90 dash 100, in our mind we're reading 90% to 100%. So we could simply write 2. I'm going to make that lowercase though. And now the screen reader would read it as 90% to 100%. And then it would identify that, move on to the next column as A. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to complete this, and then we'll come back and talk about what we can do to make sure that this table will be accessible and what specific elements we need to add or change to make sure it's accessible. Now that that's all done, we can start thinking about what needs to happen in order to make this table accessible. 2 things, really. First, there needs to be a caption that the screen reader will recognize as being associated as the table. So the screen reader is going to tell the student using the screen reader, here's a table, and then it's going to tell them, if there's a caption, it'll say grading scale. If there's no caption, then it's just going to tell them there's a table. So we want to add a caption within the table, and I will show you that in a moment. And then also we want to make some decisions so far as adding, setting a header row and or a header column. And it depends on what you're using the table for. This is a very simple table. There's only two categories, percentage grade, and they're in columns with all the percentages and grades. Now, if we had a table where there was a column that had basic category information as well, then we would want to set a header column as well. In this case, though, we only have to worry about a header row. A header row would be a row where the cells need to be a header because they have associated data or information underneath each of the top cells, and that's the case here. And one way we can do that is we can go into the table tool again and go to table properties and go to cell properties and so forth and set the header rows and columns, as well as going into table properties, we can set the caption there. And I can show you that in a moment, but there's a quicker way to do that, and that is with our friendly, helpful accessibility checker. And the accessibility checker is something that maybe sometimes we think of using after we've created or completed creating our online course. Oh, I need to go back. But this is a tool that can actually be folded into the creation process of different elements, like bringing in images and adding alt text, and also when we create a new table. So here it automates it, and this is very nice. So I'm going to click on the accessibility checker for this page, and of course it's catching the add a caption issue right away. And of course the caption is grading scale. And it will make that change or reflect that change or preview it, if you will. We want to make sure that we click on apply. Okay, so we've taken care of that issue. We still have one issue left, and if you haven't guessed, it is the headers, right? It's saying there's no headers on this. And we've already decided that we need a header row, this row here. So I'm going to go here and select header row, and it even changes the formatting. It justifies it to the center of the cell. You can change that if you want, but I'm not going to. And we're going to apply that, and bam, now we have an accessible table. Now, as you go through the table creation process, there are other ways that you can do this so far as creating the table. And like I said before, you can go to table properties. We'll jump in here and we'll go into table properties. And right here, it's asking, do you want the caption to show? So right now, sighted students can see the caption. They don't need to see the caption, especially if you have a header above that says grading scale. They're going to see that. So you could turn it off. So I'll save that and show you. Now we're right back to where the caption's still there for the screen reader to read, but it's not there for sighted students to see. And the reason why you might want to hide it is because you already have text up here set at like heading level 2 where it says grading scale. So we'll keep it that way. But also you can set the header row within the table by doing the following. So I'm going to click in here in the top row that I want my header row to be, and I'm going to actually select both cells of the row, so the entire row. And then I'm going to go into the table tool, and I'm going to select row, and then I'm going to slide over to this drop down menu and go down to row properties. And you'll see that it's already set row type as header because I've already set it as header. But this would be another way that you could do that. So we're going to keep it as header. But that's how another way you could set the header row. So in this video, what we've done is we've created table and made it accessible by using the accessibility checker. And we've also reviewed how you can you can set the header row within the row properties as well. And in addition to that, we can tweak our language or the characters we use in this example to express a percentage. And rather than reading 90-100, it's going to read 90% to 100%. So that is the way that you can create an accessible table in your Canvas course.